Hello everyone, Bashar here. The Christmas, well, New Year, all of it together, I think. Fusion has been announced. It is going to be arriving on, I think, the next Thursday, and we will be starting with the Summon Rush as it has become customary with the fusions. And for unknown reason, known only to Plarium, I think we have two back-to-back Ogre Spirit fusions. Well, I don't like it, right? I mean, there are four affinities. I mean, let's discount Void, right? Because Void fusions are very rare. Let's say there are three affinities and there are 15 factions, right? And one of them is rather brand new and quite unpopulated, right? So I'm talking about Civil Watchers. And why would we have two Ogre Spirit fusions back to back, right? It's very weird. We just had Ugir, and now we have Blizaar the Howler. I mean, the way he looks is interesting. He has a door as a shield with the wreath and all. He has antlers, which are kind of frozen. He has a semi-frozen axe halberd sort of thing. Bells on his neck. A buckler here. Some hatchets in here. Quite a mean face. Yeah. So we are getting a Spirit Affinity Defense Ogrin Tribes Legendary as the fusion. As I said, it's gonna be arriving on Thursday. He is meant for an anti-freeze hard finite champion, I think, but I would say he's not gonna do very good at either. Let's take a look at his skills. So he attacks 3 times at random. Each hit has a 40% of freezing, gets book up to 50%, and if you take into account the Fearsome Presence Mastery, that increases our chance of freezing and the other hard CC stuff by 5%, we can bring our chance of freezing up to 55%, and that approximately gets combined to applying our chance of at least one freeze up to 90% or so. So, there will be a 10% chance approximately to not place any freeze at all. Right? I mean, I will get to that. That is important for hard finite. Removes hard CC from our allies. I mean, stun, sleep, fear, freeze, provoke, petrification, except for sheep. And then gives us increased defense, and then does ally protection on a 3-turn cooldown. I would say pretty bad. And the reason I would say pretty bad is there is nothing that protects this guy from that, right? I mean, he is kind of immune to freeze, but all of the others, right, will work on him. So how will he get to remove those from our allies? That means we would have to invest heavily in resistance. And finally, he attacks everyone, freezes everyone, and reduces everyone's turn meter by 30%. That is actually not bad, if I'm being honest. But the cooldown is long. It's on a 4-turn cooldown and not 3. The passive is... So the passive gets booked down to 3 turns, as you can see. And the thing is, the passive part is whenever someone tries to land a freeze on this guy, that freeze gets placed on that guy, right? And this has no cooldown, right? The cooldown is on the active part, which means, I mean, Ninja tries to freeze this guy, he freezes Ninja. Tormin tries to freeze this guy, he freezes Tormin and whatnot, right? And there is no cooldown. I mean, he can do it infinitely or indefinitely. The active part is he has a revive on death that gets booked up to 3 turns. He gets revived with 30% HP and 30% turn meter, and then he gets a revive on death on him as well. So yeah, problem is you need a lot on this guy to work, right? I mean, you need the accuracy to land those freezes. If you want this hard CC thing to work, you need resistance to resist the enemies, those debuffs. Maybe it could help in PvP to place him with a 2-turn Stone Skin. I mean, you would just be immune to those debuffs, and if you have those debuffs on your team, you will just start by removing it all from your team. And if you really have a 2-turn Stone Skin, DLI protection is going to do nothing to you in the first turn, right? Because you use this ability, you remove the CCs, you still have 1 turn of Stone Skin, which reduces damage by an insane amount. It would be unbreakable, so basically all of your team takes half damage. I suppose that is good, right? That can be useful in PvP. I mean, the hard finite use. So the problem is, guys, Nut does 3 freezes with his A1, right? Reliable, all the time, right? Because he tries to reduce the turn meter by 15%, and if it fails, he just reduces. If he fails to reduce the turn meter, he freezes, right? So, which means Nut has 3 freezes on his A1, right? And the other champions that we have been getting that are similar always have a chance to freeze on their A1s. And the problem with that is you can't really plan for them failing totally, right? But the main problem is when you are doing finite, you don't do like 2 finites, right? You do hundreds and hundreds of finite, and then this thing will fail, right? I mean, every once, and then it will fail to apply the freeze 3 times. So I mean, mathematically, if you have the extra 5% mastery as well, I mean, you are expecting the freezes to land like 1.5 freeze every time. So you are expecting to land 1 freeze in the worst case most of the time, and 2 freezes sometimes, and rarely 3 freezes, but also rarely it can be 0 freezes, right? You can expect to place 0. And as I said, even if you get the fearsome presence mastery, the extra 5% mastery that is, you will have approximately 10% chance of failing to replace any freeze, right? And when you do a hard finite team, I mean, that is quite a deal breaker, right? Because you say, I mean, when Blizaar plays, I'm expecting at least a 15% turn meter reduction, and when that doesn't happen, the finite could take a turn, and if your team is squishy, you will die there. There is that problem. He also has a single freeze on his A3, but of course that is not very effective, right? Because finite starts with a 15 size shield, and on stage 5 I think it goes up to 18, and on stage 10 it goes up to 21, right? So, and the bonus you get from freezing is 15% turn meter reduction. So a single freeze doesn't do too much, right? 15% turn meter reduction is not all that much. So I would guess using this guy in hard Fire Knight will make you lose, I would say, like 10% of the time. Whenever you fail to get any freeze from this one, which is, as I said, going to be about 10%, you will lose, right? Most of the time, depending on your team composition, of course. So I would say if you don't have Nut, maybe, but as I said, he is not reliable. Because guys, when you are doing like 1 or 2 rounds, right, or you are trying to get past the level, right, you can expect this to work, right? I mean, you fail once, then it will work something, but if you are going to do hundreds and hundreds of rounds, this failure will become certain, right? It will fail every once and then. And the question is, are you prepared to lose that amount of energy. I mean, let's say you invested 2,000 energy into Fire Knight, and 200 of it was wasted because Blizaar was not freezing. Well, could be the case. So for trash, this ability is not bad, but the problem is it makes you lose time. It's not a bad ability, but it makes you lose time. Why? Because, guys, frozen targets take 25% less damage from all sources, right? So you freeze them, okay. I mean, they cannot hit you. You also reduce their turn meter, so the trash becomes quite risk-free, right? But it will also increase the amount of time you take to clear that trash, right? So I was using Kryodan, who was kind of similar to this ability, right? And I took him out because he was adding so much time to the run, right? And he was also very bad at dealing damage himself, so he didn't bring almost any damage to the team, and also he was making my trash last longer. So I found a solution by making everyone a little tankier in Fire Knight, and just taking whatever damage came my way instead of wasting an extra 30 seconds on the trash. So yeah, I mean, if, as I said, you don't have a nut, he could be used for lower stages or hard Fire Knight, maybe to keep him under control, alongside with a Yakarl or Kryodan, maybe if you have one of those, and keep the guy under turn meter control. There is that. For Tormin countering, so the problem is it's not a very good Tormin counter, because what he does is, let's say you put this guy on your team, right? And you activate Arbiter's A3, right? And you get frozen. What he does is he just reflects the freeze on himself to Tormin, right? For example, your Georgid, your Harima, or whatever, they still get frozen. So, and you only freeze their Tormin, right? Because it doesn't say that he reflects the freeze on a random enemy, right? He just says, whoever tries to freeze me, I will freeze them instead, right? So what do I understand from Tormin getting frozen? Nothing, right? So I don't think he's a good Tormin counter either. I mean, I have been, bashing him pretty hard, so I think maybe early mid-game accounts can benefit from this guy. But late game accounts, I don't think there is anything in it for them. But of course, guys, I'm not saying don't do the fusion, right? So the game doesn't throw legendaries at us, and fusions are, I wouldn't say very easy, but they are very obtainable, right? If you just save a few shards and do the activities that the game throws your way, which is how the game should be played anyway. So I am going to do this fusion, but I don't think it's going to be very beneficial. But as I always keep saying, there is the chance that this could get buffed. There is the chance that I could get another from an ancient shard or anything, which means it will be a faction guardian for me in Ogrin, which I don't mind, right? So, I mean, basically what I say is a legendary is a legendary. So I will just go for it, but I am not very impressed. I don't think it's very good. And as I said, I am a little vexed that it is, back-to-back Ogrin Spirit, right? I mean, that is very impressive. And why are we getting, so there are so many combinations, and we get Ogrin Spirit back-to-back, right? Why not a Sylvan one, right? Because Sylvan is a relatively new faction, and a lot of players are still trying to climb the crypt, right? And the faction crypt, and it could have been nice to give us something from there. I mean, I'm sure they could find something that would fit the winter theme in Sylvans. Yeah, so that's it. As I said, he's gonna this fusion is going to start on Thursday, followed up by a summon rush, most likely, and then we'll see how the schedule goes. This will also overlap with the Yuletide event. We'll see how the interactions go. Most likely all of the dungeon tournaments that are part of this will also include some snow points. We'll see how it goes. And do I have any final words about Hydra or anything? No. I mean, I don't think so. Because the thing is, guys, this freeze is useless against Hydra. This freeze is useless against Hydra. Turn meter reduction is useless against Hydra. This could be nice, right? Up to some level, but you know, everything else being crap, I don't think he has any Hydra uses whatsoever. So the best use I could glean for him is, you know, accounts without not hard Fire Knight, maybe a little, and in PvP with 6 pieces of stone skin, you just remove the CC from your guys and you make everyone take a lot of less damage for one turn only, right? Could be useful. If you make him fast, the stone skin will expire quickly and you will start taking damage. If you make him slow, then he'll play way too late. Yeah, it's not very easy to balance, but I think that's the best use for him for now. And I think that's all I have to say about this guy, and I will see you on stream and on the Fusion. Bye bye.